Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell. I have some time to spare before I have to take off. So I thought I'd do a Book of Mormon code for you. Now, as I've discussed, and as most of you are aware of, the Book of Mormon has been plagiarized. And no, as a Mormon apologist claim, plagiarism is not proof of its truth. Plagiarism, however, was encoded so that we can have a message understood from the Book of Mormon through the parts that were plagiarized. And I will take you to the Book of Jacob, chapter 7, verse 27. Now, everybody's messed this up because they don't understand the Book of Mormon code. Because, yes, it's where Adieu is found. And critics have said, oh, French? No! And the Mormon apologists say, oh, well, it's possible that French could be used in an ancient translation text if the word that's originally in the plates were... No. No. The phrase is brethren, adieu. That's the key of the text that's being plagiarized. And it comes from William Morgan's, or the author named William Morgan, because it wasn't really him, it wasn't his book. He was wanting to write two different other books. And so the Batavian Press, not wanting to lose out on any money, published this book, Illustrations of Masonry, instead. And in Illustrations of Masonry, it only goes up to the Master Mason as to what goes on. And that's another reason why we know it's not William Morgan's book, because he was up to rank number 7, or depending on which ranking system you use. He was 3 away from Knights Templar. And so why aren't any of those other rankings in the book? And so, and it's is it York Rites or is it Scottish Rites? Because the first 3 ranks are the same for both. And then when you get into either the York or the Scottish Rites, you then rise up through different rankings. But Brethren Adieu is found in William Morgan's book. And so that's the book that is the key. And so what do we have with William Morgan's book? Well, William Morgan is attributed as the author. And so we need to see if we can find William Morgan in this passage as one of the names that are mentioned here. And so I'll read it for you. And I, Jacob, saw that I must soon go down to my grave. Okay, so somebody is about to die. And if you're unfamiliar with Illustrations of Masonry, it discusses Hiram Abiff, who is murdered at King Solomon's temple, and everybody gets to be involved in searching for the killer. And so here we have Jacob, who is about to die. And so, is this William Morgan? Well, Jacob in Hebrew means usurper. Now, this is a good Jacob, rather than the bad Jacob later on in the Book of Mormon, who becomes king over the destroyed Nephites. And so that's a different usage of the name Jacob. So here, this is a good guy, according to the text. And he has usurped something and is about to die. And so he has to pass on what he usurped to someone else. Wherefore I said unto my son. Son is not a literal son. It's a code. Anciently, the son would be an apprentice to the father, who is the master of the career field. So if you're a smith, a worker in metals, you as the father would be the master smith, and its son would be the apprenticeship, the apprentice smith. And sure enough, in masonry, there's the master and apprentice. And so what we have here is somebody who is being trained with what's being usurped, and who's going to be given a master status to carry on with what's being usurped. So what's being usurped? Take these plates. Somebody who deals in smithery, in the field of smithing. And I told him the things which my brother, if you're familiar with the illustrations of Freemasonry, and I've already revealed it to you, brethren, adieu, is from that book. Brethren is what they called each other. And so brother is not a literal blood brother, it's a Masonic brother. And so who then is Nephi in this passage? He's a fellow Mason. And yet he's not the one who has the plates. That's going to an apprentice of Jacob. And so when you learn the history, you learn that William Morgan was imprisoned in the same township that Joseph Smith Sr. was a master mason of the same lodge of William Morgan. And so when you learn about how Masons snuck William Morgan, out of the country, you then see that also he had to be declared dead because they couldn't find his body, and so Jacob then becomes William Morgan from this passage, thanks to the code, the key code of Brethren Adieu, which is plagiarized from the Illustrations of Masonry, which was supposed to have been authored by him, sort of. And so, who is this apprentice? We already gave you a hint that Nephi here is Joseph Smith Sr. And he's the brother of William Morgan in Freemasonry. And so, who then would have had the plates? The plates being the writings, the two books of William Morgan that he was intending on publishing, for which he was falsely arrested and had to be snuck out of the country to save his life, but was declared dead because his body couldn't be found. So, do you know your Book of Mormon history? Who helped the Smiths with the scribal position after the 116 pages went missing and continued through the rest of the book? Oliver Cowdery. Yep, Oliver Cowdery, who knew how to do the whole rod magic trick, as the Doctrine and Covenants passage says, although they've changed the words since its original wording. Yeah, the Cowdreys are cousins to Lucy Mack, and they were there in Vermont, and William Cowdrey was a part of the New Israelites along with Joseph Smith Sr. And so that's where they learned the magic trick with rods to look for buried treasure in accordance with the Knights Templar, not magic. Big distinction there. The critics, historian critics, have believed that, oh, it's magic folklore, they were witches. No, it goes back to the Knights Templar, because what's in the Freemasonry at the York Rites at the highest ranking? The Knights Templar. It's the Knights Templar that are the common thread, not magic, because Joseph Smith's father or grandfather was involved in testifying against witches in the Salem witch trial. And so, yeah, the Smiths were anti-magic, anti-witchcraft. And so that whole thing of Mormonism, magic, and witchcraft, or whatever, in the modern world, whatever, makes for great reading, but it's not the full story. There's more to it than that, and it has to do with the Knights Templar. And so here we have the reconstruction of this passage. And I, William Morgan, saw that I must soon go down to my grave. He had to be snuck out of the country and declared dead. Wherefore I said unto Oliver Cowdery, who was my apprentice working on the books for the printing, take these manuscripts. And I told him the things which Joseph Smith Sr. had commanded me as the master mason of that particular area. And he promised obedience unto the commands. And I make an end of my writing upon these plates, because he's got to flee the country, which writing has been small. Yeah, he didn't get to finish, did he? And to the reader I bid farewell, hoping that many of my fellow masons may read my words. Brethren, adieu. See how that works? And so that's pretty cool there. And if you've if you've read my other publication about the Book of Mormon, I point out that Joseph Smith Sr. was the one who orchestrated the writing of the Book of Mormon. It was originally intended to be the combined books of William Morgan, and the Doctrine and Covenants passages of the Lord being upset with Joseph Jr. about the loss of the 116 pages by that wicked man, Martin Harris. That was father getting upset with son. And they had already arranged through Sidney Rigdon to create a new shell for the book, so that it wouldn't have as much Freemasonry in it as the 116 pages did. And so then you understand, when you understand Sidney Rigdon's life, why he was so skilled at plagiarism. And there's a reason, and it's pretty cool. So that's that with that. Yeah, I still have an hour. So that should give me plenty of time to upload this for you.